any specific details regarding where those other shafts went, but if you extrapolate the data and keep in mind that we've been basically boring 40-foot diameter holes in the ground using nuclear-powered tunnel boring machines for the past 4 decades, by now it's very easy to calculate that they have crisscrossed the United States and have connected these up. Definitely, I'm a believer that we have a shuttle system, and this is already a done deal. It's in the works now. The RAND Corporation is the one who procured the funding for the tunnel boring machines.
So you said control of this technology, control of the airspace would lead to world domination in effect.
Absolutely.
Where do you think they're taking all this? That you say they've got technology that's 50 years ahead of anything we could even imagine.
Right.
Well, if we can imagine Star Wars and imagine Star Trek, and you're saying they have technology 50 years ahead of that,
yes,
that really is, that's beyond belief.
Exactly.
Really beyond the scope of normal belief based on the evidence that's been provided to us. So how can you make that assertion?
The only way that I can think that we have a reason for these programs, it ultimately goes back to General MacArthur at West Point Naval Institute, where he gave his farewell address to naval candidates there, where he said that during our next great war we would have to face an enemy that would be outside of our solar system, and we should prepare now for such an invasion. So if what he says and what he knew at that time is true, that's consistent with what Ronald Reagan said during the Reagan administration 3 times, including 1 time in the United States, where he made reference to the fact that the USA and Russia should join forces to repel such a threat, and how we would forget our petty differences and unite as one. So that's something to consider. Maybe they know something that is coming this way, and we've been developing these programs, chemical lasers, space-based weapon system, as a defensive system, not against the Soviet Union, but by an external threat referenced by General MacArthur.
Do you think perhaps there's been an internal invasion as opposed to a physical invasion?
An internal invasion at the White House?
No, into military levels, where there's already been an invasion of an ET confederation aligning itself, giving technology to, say, the Western world, where this extraterrestrial confederation has actually empowered and traded technology for the rights to sample human beings. And is there any evidence in what you've uncovered suggestive of the fact that there is an ongoing alliance and communication between groups of ETs and elements within the U.S. military and military-industrial complex?
I have no way to document that case. I don't know if there's any way to prove that particular alliance.
What's the best evidence you have to suggest to you that there is cooperation between extraterrestrials and the military-industrial complex?
Only from comments made by Ben Rich, where he talked about how a number of our man-made UFOs were unfunded opportunities. Those are his own words, unfunded opportunities. That may mean that, according to Ben Rich, we have received hand-me-downs from other groups outside the solar system. We have reverse engineered those programs, and that's what he was referring to.
Now, earlier Jim asked a question about Bob Lazar, and Bob Lazar was saying that, his testimony was basically, yes, that's all we've been doing back over in Area 51 and S4 is back engineering what we've already been given or what we've already captured. So why should we disbelieve Bob Lazar? Is there any reason to disbelieve any of his story, regardless of what Stanton Friedman says?
When we've checked on his background, no one has any record of him being at Los Alamos. The only thing we have is a phone book where his name is actually mentioned there. That's not much to go on, but the background checks just did not work out. But ultimately, I think Bob Lazar is certainly onto something here. Just can't prove that he was at S4. If he was only there for a few days. He was a temporary contractor. He was not a full-time person. He was only there on a temporary basis. It wasn't anything that was consistent whatsoever.
How would we get any of these people? What do they stand to lose by coming out? And how are we going to get people deep within Skunk Works and places like this where these operations are going on to have the courage to come out and maybe, definitely